Last week I had an exchange online with Stephen A, where he was vocal about what he thought I needed to do, and he also said some other things.
Jaylen Brown on stream is going to call out this guy.
Is Jaylen Brown, as it pertains to this relationship with Jason Tatum, based off of what he said, this is his favorite year. You got knocked out in the first round. The Boston Celtics, one of the top two most storied franchises, if not the most storied franchise in the history of basketball annals, lost a 3-1 lead for the first time in its history, in its postseason history. And its star this season, and one of its top two preeminent stars over the last 7 years, goes on camera 24 hours after losing. Not 6 months, not 8 months, not the next season. 24 hours after losing a 3-1 lead, and says this was his favorite year.
3 games at home.
3 games at home. Now, you can't do that.
Stephen A. Smith, who has lambasted Jaylen Brown's comments over and over. Thus,
this is a part of the reason why people use the term clown, and it synchronizes with someone like Stephen A. Smith. Because this is what you're using your platform for. What are you talking about?
Brown responded to Smith's diatribes.
You the only one, the only star in the history of the Boston Celtics that ever lost a 3-1 lead and surrendered it, and that's your favorite year. Why? Because you and your teammates developed better chemistry and camaraderie? You understand what I'm saying? Because you overcame adversity?
What happens? What's the remedy? Given all these things you're pointing out, I'm with you. But that's why I brought up the whole trade thing again. What are you going to do about it?
I don't mind. But what I'm saying is the first order of business is that he needs to be quiet and, like Big Perk said, go on vacation unless you're trying to get traded.
So this is a narrative that he's creating. This is in journalism. This is him making his own opinion and formalizing it about what I had to say on his platform. And this is why, respectfully, a lot of people say, fuck Stephen A. Because this is the type of stuff he does, and then he doesn't recognize it. But he's creating a narrative saying that the reason why I'm saying that I had my favorite season is because selfishly I had a best performing year. Not the fact that we outproved expectations, not the fact that everybody expected us to be nothing and we had to fight and we showed up and we competed every single day and we had to fight for every victory. Not the joy of watching our teammates grow, or not the joy of watching guys who are unproven start to solidify themselves as well through leadership, through chemistry. Like, he maybe not doesn't understand that because maybe he's never had to fight for nothing in his life. Maybe anytime adversity is hit, he's rolled over or he's gave in. So he thinks it's the same thing as somebody who has little to no expectation and they stood up and they made a name for themselves. Like, he may not understand that concept, and that's why he's pushing his narrative. Did he just say I needed to be quiet? Be quiet for who? Man, fuck Stephen A. Stephen A, Stephen B, Stephen C. Like, my offer still stands. You want me to be quiet and stop streaming? Well, I want you to be quiet and get off these networks, because you're not using your platform to do real journalism. You're using your platform to use clickbait.
And he's not wrong. In return, Smith did the usual thing that he does. Make threats.
But in the end, Jaylen Brown, be careful what you wish for. You really want me to start reporting on that level? You understand? Locker room? How the organization might think about you? How the city may feel about you? How Jason Tatum may or may not have feel about you? Sneaker deals, endorsement deals, the list goes on and on. The season is over, bro. You on Twitch trying to do what I do and talking about me needing to step away. It makes no sense. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm simply making the point that it is not wise, after 24 hours of having your season over in the first round, for you to be coming out talking about that's your favorite season. It ain't the smartest thing in the world to do. But evidently, you understand, when you're talking about clickbait and all of that stuff, somebody told you one of the best ways to get it is to bring up my name. And that's what you did. So who's really looking for clickbait? Is it me or is it you? And obviously, you would think you wouldn't need it. $304 million, NBA player. You don't need it. What you doing it for?
So there's a few different angles here that I'd like to go over. The first and most glaring is that Stephen A will say, with this tough machismo voice, that what Jaylen Brown is doing is making content out of Smith's name. How egotistical. I think if we lived in a just and more so like favoring media literacy, this man would not have a career. And the way that Smith frames this, by fighting off the clickbait thing, is by dedicating the first hour to talking about Jaylen Brown. Like, I remember when he has been dissed previously, he will dedicate so much time because he knows that he could make content out of that. And then, and this is a media problem, I have been across the board talking about this and what is fractured within media. We're not focused on like more of the games. We're not focused on more of the acquisitions. What we're focused on is beefs, and I am guilty of it. I'm being clear. I am guilty of it. What I personally prefer is when there's a so-called beef, but it's over the merits of policy or human rights or abortion or immigration. Like, if someone calls out another guy, it's because of the stance they took, not because of policy-wise, and not because they just don't like him. But what gets me about all of this is that Smith thinks that Jaylen Brown is calling him out because he's just such a humongous name. And there's a bit of truth in this because, number one, as much as I hate covering this effing guy, he is the number one name in sports media because of ESPN and Disney. That is who we should be airing our grievances with. For a lot of the good that they've done, they have given us this man to talk about every single sport. Remember how bad he was on the boxing cards? Remember how bad he was with the UFC? I mean, hell, remember how bad he was with the NFL, where he doesn't even know who's on what team, lying through his teeth about not just Kaepernick, but also Hunter Henry? It's atrocious. It's atrocious. And this guy is whoring himself out to try and be on every single program at all times. I don't mind Get Up, but when I see him go in there with the floating mobile mic, I turn it off. It's too much. It's overdrive. He set himself up to be put in this position. But what I really don't like is him then going on the offensive, at least trying to, by saying, you know what, you don't want to make an enemy out of me, as he said to Kevin Durant. I know things. I know people. We have seen your sourcing. Your sourcing is trash. Trash. You know who your sourcing is? True story. We covered it. Ballsack Sports on Twitter. Got duped. Don't do this. Don't do this. Come on. Come on. What I don't like about Stephen A the most is that, related or unrelated, is that he is there for one reason: to uphold capital. He's there to tear down black athletes and uphold capital. Do I like what Jaylen Brown said on his stream after the season ended? No, I didn't. Objectively, I didn't. If he would have really dedicated some time to going over and also taking ownership of yeah, it was unsuccessful. It was an unsuccessful season, but in many ways it was there are still some successes, and here they are. That's all that it would have been. Instead, I understand the criticisms because Jason Tatum was out a majority of the year. It really gave off the vibe of I love being the number one option. It was odd. But for Stephen A, he sees blood in the water every single time that an athlete says something that is, what's less than mild of a spice? I mean, my favorite dish is Indian food. I love Indian food. I don't know what would be less than mild. But that is where Stephen A is with a lot of his criticisms. So here's what I'm getting at. I think Stephen A, in due time, will run his course. Unfortunately, how I view this is the people that really love him are, let's just say ESPN, are sports people. And a lot of the times that I've heard First Take and even Undisputed were people that drove a lot. Like I heard it in a lot of Lyfts and Ubers who were sports fans. We would talk about sports. It would be great. But I truly don't know, like, for that demographic of like sports fan who listens to it in the background while they're working, or they have it on at home while they're working, or they have it in the car or on the train, like what is the red line there? Because he's not a journalist, he's an entertainer. And all he wants to do is take shots. That's all that he wants to do. Especially when it is, the mantra fits here, where Smith can dish it out to everybody, but he can never take it. Ever. And he will never take ownership. It's very Trumpian. Double down, triple down, quadruple down. Never say I'm sorry. Never apologize. I've never heard him authentically apologize. I've heard him apologize in the context of, oh, I'm sorry. And then he'll just go into some BS. So yeah, that's where I stand. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.